Hi everybody, this is another video about methylene blue and red light therapy. Just before I jump into the meat of the video, if you could just take a quick second to please like or share or comment or subscribe. Press subscribe, geez. Well, subscribe I guess on YouTube, I suppose. Post a quick comment or somehow acknowledge this video on the social media platform that you happen to be watching it on. I'd really appreciate it, so thanks in advance for taking a second to do that. So I was happy to get a question about methylene blue and red light therapy. I posted another video about this topic maybe 3 weeks ago or so, give or take, maybe 4 weeks ago, and it was a really popular video, like way more views than the majority of my other posts. So I'm glad it's a topic of interest. I'm glad I have an excuse to talk about it again. So the individual in question gave a bit of a background and to kind of create the context of the question. And as per usual, nothing I'm saying should be construed as medical advice. This is for informational purposes only. If you need medical advice, please talk to your healthcare provider to get that advice. So essentially, the person asking the question was saying they had some kind of topical wound issue, and they were using topical methylene blue and red light therapy for scar healing. And let's see here. And so after sort of administering this, then it led to a sharp stinging feeling in the wound, or on the wound. And so the questions were, is red light therapy and topical methylene blue safe? Can it cause DNA damage and apoptosis? And does it generate reactive oxygen species, also known as free radicals, or the opposite of antioxidants? So those are really good questions. In terms of the, in terms of the safety of red light therapy, to my understanding, red light therapy is very safe. Lots of research evidence suggesting that it's safe. We'd have to be careful. Like, we have a red light therapy panel here, and folks have to wear glasses, like special, like ideally like super duper high powered sunglasses, just to protect their lights from the light rays. So we want to make sure we're protecting eye tissue, but in terms of topical red light therapy, or ours is red light and infrared light combined, as many of the light panels out there are, to my understanding, they're very safe to use and provide a plethora of potential health benefits. So I think the red light topically is fine. With topical methylene blue, I haven't used topical methylene blue before, but I do know that methylene blue is actually used. It's really interesting. You can see videos on YouTube. This is kind of gross, so if you're squeamish or you have better things to do, don't look this up. But they actually will use methylene blue, and they'll inject it into I think wounds and things like that, to actually see where the wound, it's kind of all the output points are, like with different wounds, like it would say like inside of a joint or whatnot. Like there's some type of medical landmarking that's used essentially with methylene blue, because it's just so easy to see, I guess. It's easy to detect and see where things are oozing out of or whatnot. So I think from that perspective, the fact that they're actually administering it like internally, like into, it's kind of it's still kind of technically topical in a way, when they're kind of like infusing it through, like, a damaged joint or some kind of a wound or whatnot. I believe that it's safe to use topically. In terms of chronic use or like habitual use, I'm not sure. I can't really think of why it wouldn't be safe, but I don't know a ton about that specifically. Now, in terms of causing DNA damage and apoptosis, or apoptosis, depending on how you like to pronounce it. So the person in question, it was through a direct message, and they sent me a link to a study, basically indicating that in vitro, like in a petri dish, basically, I don't know what the tissues were actually, but exposing cells to methylene blue and light, especially when there was red light, then it did cause DNA damage and apoptosis and reactive oxygen species generation. And that's actually exactly what we want methylene blue and red light therapy, when they're used together, to be doing internally, because ultimately that's going to help kill off microorganisms in the body, and ultimately that is going to act as a hormetic stressor to make the body healthier and stronger in the grand scheme of things. So we know that when we intentionally, in therapeutic ways, with using therapeutic protocols, intentionally induce more reactive oxygen species, we get this hormetic stress. It's this basically stressor on the body, and the body says, oh, there's all these free radicals, we better do something about this. We better reduce inflammation in the body. We better create more antioxidants. We better start promoting tissue healing. It's this cascade of events that occurs that ultimately tells the body to come back healthier and stronger. That's the way that ozone therapy works. When folks use hydrogen peroxide therapy in various ways, that's the way that works as well, to my understanding. And both ozone and hydrogen peroxide also kill things through reactive oxygen species, but they have those health promoting effects through those mechanisms as well. And then through different mechanisms, cold exposure and heat exposure like saunas and things like that will also have these. They are these hormetic stressors that tell the body to come back stronger, essentially. So in vitro, in these petri dish studies, like, yeah, there's going to be cell damage because it's in a petri dish. A petri dish isn't a complex human organism with all these different systems set up to deal with these various stressors. But we know that when our wonderful, beautifully evolved human bodies are exposed to these types of reactive oxygen species at appropriate concentrations with appropriate protocols, then we get health benefits coming out of that. So what happens in a petri dish can be reflective of what happens in the body, but it's a very different playing field. So thank you for the question. If this didn't fully answer your question, please post in the comment section below or DM me again and let me know, and I can clarify further. But thanks for the question, because again, I was happy to have another excuse to talk about methylene blue and red light therapy. If anybody has any questions about this topic or anything else, just post in the comment section below, and I'll do my best to answer as soon as I can.